What up, what up? This is Ray Grand, your host, and you're listening to The Ray Grand Show, where we talk about redefining a disability and overcoming. I've been paralyzed from 22 years from bacterial spinal meningitis. I know a few things. That's right. Thank you for listening, and let's get to it. Good day, people. This is the Ray Grand Show, and I have a special guest with me, Summer, and this will be a very interesting story. I hope you guys are tuning in and listening, and here we go. Hey, how you doing, Summer?
I am so freaking excited right now. I'm so excited.
Thank you for coming and being on my show. Your story is super emotional. I remember watching your story on Facebook, and a tear came to my eyes, and I'm not like a big crier per se. I could be a little sensitive. However, most people don't know that. They think Ray's super strong, etc. However, reading your story and listening to your story was mind boggling to me, and just how everything happened and how you fought through and overcame, etc. Can we talk about your story, like what happened? And
Absolutely. First, should I be offended that just one tear came down, or I need a little bit more than one tear. I literally, every time I tell it or I write it out, I'm bawling. And then you get Ray, hardcore Ray here. He's like, I read your story and one tear came out. I got to admit it. Whoa, I got one tear. All right, cool.
No, so here's the deal, right? Let me be totally transparent. So, we hear stories all the time, especially I think Facebook and just social media, we get desensitized. However, when you was describing the story, it was almost like I was there. I can feel it. I was captivated. However, sometimes, especially from a woman being in that particular situation, I'm from the inner city. I hear about that all the time, but when it was based off your story, it was just wow, this happened to a woman. I did not hear that before. It was just crazy to me, and I got caught up in the emotions. So yeah, it was one tear, but it was a lot for me.
Okay.
Especially with so many stories on social media where we just police with brown folks, and it's just so much. We just get desensitized. I don't know. Do you agree? Am I just blowing smoke?
I agree. And I try not to, because I can fall down the rabbit hole. I can fall down, getting into politics and gun reform and all that stuff. So I try my best to kind of stay away from a lot of things and try to stay away from a lot of news, but you can't help it. We're bringing children up in this world right now where there's a dire need for things to change. We need this so badly, and I'm an empath, so everything affects me. I take on emotions of a room that I walk into, so it's very, very hard for me to kind of turn that switch off, which is kind of a weakness, but it's also my strength, because I can tell when somebody's just going through something and they just need someone to say, hey, how are you? And I think society is kind of geared to say, oh, I'm okay. Because nobody wants to hear that somebody's like, girl, I tried to kill myself yesterday. Nobody wants to hear that. You want to hear that people are okay, because what's your response when somebody says that? My response is, as an empath, is just to hug them as tight as I can. Then it gets worse, because as I'm hugging them, I'm taking on all that emotion. So yeah. It's hard to kind of turn off, but I also kind of use it as my strength, because I think that's how I can relate to people more. And that's just what I love to do, is tell my story and sort of draw you into where, I've been, and let you know that, hey, pull some of my strength, because you can get through. If I can get through this, you can get through this. You may not have the physical outcome that I had, but it all starts within the heart, right? It all starts within the mind. Then it trickles down to the heart, and then you just start to feel those things. And even though you're not able to, move your limbs or do what your mind tells you to do, you still have that power that you can draw from always, and you can accomplish a lot of things. a lot of things. And I know it's not, everybody's, dream is to, oh, I want to be a speaker, or I want to do this, or I want to do that. A lot of people are like, I want to walk.
Yeah.
I want to walk. If I'm not walking, then I'm not doing anything. And I don't think that's necessarily true. But I also walk, so I can say that. So it's like,
Did
you
you
know what I mean?
did you receive that ability to be like super sensitive, like when you walk in a room before the incident happened or after the incident happened?
I've been like this since I was a kid. I knew right off the bat, just like you, I grew up in the hood. I grew up in the inner city. I'd seen it all happen. I've been pulled over and pulled out of a car and thrown onto a floor, searched my car. It's probably happened probably in my teens, probably every other day in my teens. So I have always been like a very good judge of character since I was a child. My mom has always said that. I've had that discernment. I know what you're about probably within 3 seconds of even meeting you.
Wow.
I've just always had that. And I've always kind of like used that, as one of my strengths. Like I said, it can be a weakness because my body will not lie. My body will not say, hey, come give me a hug, when I'm like, ooh, please don't. Let's kind of steer clear of that energy that you got going on. So it's kind of like, I use it as a strength, but it's definitely probably one of my biggest weaknesses as well, which is kind of weird. But like I said, I can relate to your story so much, because I did grow up seeing all of that. And what's weird is that, so let's go back. Let's go back to how this all happened and why I'm actually here. Back in 2003, I was, gosh, how old was I? 26, I think. We were going out to a nightclub, and we were at a lounge, and we were having a couple of drinks. So we decided to leave. And as we were leaving, I'm sitting in the car, and I'm kind of like hunched over looking for my ID because we were about to go out to the next spot. So as I'm hunched over, I have my seatbelt on. So your seatbelt is, obviously locking you in place.
Yeah.
Darn that seatbelt. You'll learn later about the damn seatbelt. It's locking you in place. So I'm bending over, and the guy that I'm with, who's like a club promoter, who's just a friend, he goes to back out of the parking spot, and he like slams on the brakes a little bit. So I'm like, what happened? And he's like, I don't know. These guys like won't let us out of the parking lot. And I'm like, okay. I didn't think anything of it. I just thought, men are stupid. I don't know what's happening. It's just dumb. But in hindsight, I felt that energy. I felt like now that I can look back, I knew that something wasn't right within my soul. I knew that I was in trouble, but you don't think about it in that moment. So we back out, and we're driving, and it's kind of like, how can I describe it? Like kind of like, those little malls, little strip malls where there's an entrance in and an entrance out, and it's the same place where you go in and come out. So we go to the right. We're gonna
like a roundabout.
No, like kind of like a strip mall, but there's one entrance.
Okay.
Yeah, like one driveway, I guess you would say. So there's space to go, in and out. So as we're going right, as other cars are supposed to go in back of you to go right, this car pulls to the left of us and riddles the car with 9 bullets. Mind you, we're in a coupe, so there's not much room to go anywhere. And obviously I'm bent down, so I'm not knowing what the heck is going on. And that seatbelt locked me in place. So there was nothing I can do but just hold my body there. That seatbelt just locked me in place. All I felt was just warmth. Like I know a lot of people say that they feel cold, but I felt warm, like so warm, almost hot, like a hot feeling. Yeah. And I remember him screaming, "Summer, Summer, Summer," and it kept just going more faint, more faint, more faint. And I felt my body just leave. I felt my soul leave. Yeah. And as I'm laying there, just slumped over, paramedics are working on me. I'm watching all this happen. And all I can say is, help me, help me, help me. But it's not like a voice where they can hear. They're just working, working, working. And I'm saying, help me, help me. Like I'm, over the paramedics saying, you got to do something. So I died there in the car. They get me into the ambulance. They rush me. They're resuscitating me in the ambulance. They resuscitated me. I get to the trauma center. I die at the trauma center.
So are you still watching this the whole time?
I'm watching everything. It's almost as if have you seen the movie Ghost, where he's just flying over and he sees everything with Patrick Swayze?
No, I don't.
Oh my gosh, you have to watch that movie. It's almost like that. You're watching everything happen, and you're kind of with your soul. Like you don't leave. I don't believe that you truly leave. You're truly there with yourself until that final moment. That's how I knew it wasn't that final moment. And I remember, I'm a PK, so I grew up in church, and I remember my mom said, at that time when you need to call on the Lord, you call on the Lord, and He will come and help you. And I was just saying, someone help me, someone help me. And I felt like no one was moving fast enough. I felt like it was all in slow motion. No one was doing what they were supposed to do. I felt like no one was like really like grabbing me and saving me. That's how I felt. I felt like at that moment that I was meant to slip away. Like for a little bit, for however long it was, I felt like that was meant to be. So I wake up in ICU, and I knew it was ICU because you can see the glass all around you. I kind of knew where I was at, but I didn't know what happened. So I open my eyes, and my family rushes to my bedside, and I kind of like I have all these tubes in my mouth, and I didn't know because I'm just opening up my eyes, and I'm kind of like, wondering what the heck's going on. And my mom comes over and she motions with a gun, someone shot you. So I start, freaking out a little bit because I don't know what's going on. And all these machines start going off. Doctors start rushing in. They come in. They clear everyone out of the room. They sedate me again so they can pull the ventilator and everything out. So I wake up the next day, and I'm able to, mouth the words, what happened, and detectives come in, and, they start telling me, do you know this person? And they ended up finding the guys. There was two men. They ended up finding them at a bar within an hour of this happening, having a drink at the bar, grabbed them at the bar, searched the car. They didn't find anything. Searched the dumpster in the back of the bar, and there the gun was that shot me. Wow. In the back of the bar. So they did what they did, went to the bar, dumped the gun, and just sat and casually had a drink.
Wow.
Ended my life right there. Didn't care. And I was just in shock. I thought, who does this happen to? I'm a mother of two. I'm a wife. Like, who does this happen to? Like, why me? And you start asking those questions. Why? And there's no answer for it. There's no answer for why things happen to us. They just do. Yeah. And what I've learned through all of that is that it was meant for me. Like, all of that pain was meant for me, because if you think about it, some of the most beautiful things are birthed through pain. Babies are birthed through pain, and we go through all that pain, and it's something so beautiful that comes out through the end.
So were you able to walk after that, or what? Like, how did that look like after? So were you paralyzed, or were you?
So after the doctors,
for how long?
At this point, while detectives are talking to me, I'm still not grasping what was going on, because doctors hadn't talked to me yet. It's important to know that I was very hot-headed, very quick to react, very a fighter. I grew up a fighter all my life, a fighter. See something and I'm probably going to punch you in your face. Like, I grew up a fighter all of my life. You have to, growing up in the neighborhood. That's just how you have to be. So I think that my parents and friends were a little bit afraid of the reaction to just tell me, hey, you're not going to walk again. I think that also, how do you tell your child that, they're waking up and they don't know what's going on. So after the detectives leave, the doctors come in and they're trying to, explain everything. Well, you were shot, went in here, and out right here, the other side of my neck.
Oh my God.
Right through the shoulder. And right through the neck, out through the shoulder here.
Okay.
So what they said was that it missed my spinal cord by like a few centimeters. But what happened was the bullet just caused so much damage and ricocheted all through my spine that it damaged so many nerves that I was a C7 spinal cord injury, incomplete. I had no idea what that meant.
Yeah.
I just thought, okay, so what does that mean? Like, when can I go home? Yeah, you're not going to go home. You're either going to stay here in rehab or you're going to probably go to a nursing home. Okay, yeah, that's funny. When am I going to go home? Because I'm going to walk out of here. You don't know me. I'm walking out of here. Okay, all right. So they bring counselors in and all kind of stuff. Like, we need to like really get a grasp on this because she thinks she's leaving, walking out of here. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So I slowly, come to grips with what is actually going on, but I really didn't. In the back of my mind, I just felt like it wasn't a reality to me. It wasn't a reality. And I think because I constantly had friends and family and surrounded by so many people that love me that I couldn't really fully wrap my head around my future. I couldn't fully wrap my head around that I was never going to walk again. I remember the first movement that I had was I could put my finger up to my nose because we were changing seasons. So it was going from late September. This happened September 27th to October. So it started getting a little bit colder outside. So I remember I had sniffles and the first thing I can do was wipe my nose. And we celebrated that like it was.
Whoa. So you wasn't even able to move your hands?
Nothing. I could move nothing. I just
paralyzed from the neck down. So C7 is paralyzed from the neck down.
Yes.
Wow.
I could move nothing. The first movement I had was to wipe my nose. Then I think my mom knew she's an anomaly. She's going to get through it. I know it. I know she's going to get through this. I don't know if you remember, but they have these chairs in the hospital when you're paralyzed. They're super long in the back. Like they come up to
I know.
Yeah, the top of your head.
Yeah.
And then your leg, you're strapped in. Yeah, you're strapped in everywhere. I guess it's for tone. Like, you know how you have all that tone, so your leg will kind of jump off the chair and you don't want to slide off the chair. Because that's not a good look. So I'm, constantly strapped in these chairs, right? And the second thing that I can do was wiggle my toes. And I remember sitting there with my mom and we were eating something. I don't remember what. She was actually feeding me because I could wipe my nose, but I couldn't actually, feed myself. And it's important to remember that during that time that you're just laying there, you're getting weaker and weaker and weaker. Your body is atrophied. You're losing weight. You're losing muscle. All you have is just that skin there, and it's just this weakness. Even though they come in once a day to try to help you move those limbs, you're still just getting weaker. So I remember saying, Mom, I think I could feel my feet. I can wiggle my toes. I think. She said, wiggle them. She pulls the blanket off my foot and she says, wiggle them. And I moved my foot like in a circular motion. And we just cried and cried and cried. It was so incredible. Like I was like, okay, all right. But I was still slumping into that depression. I was every day that I would see people come and go, just like I wanted to do. I would just get deeper and deeper because these little monumental things that seem monumental in that moment were so small in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
So small. Okay, you can move your foot around. Okay, but what's next? Halloween's coming up. Can you take your kids trick-or-treating? That's all I kept thinking about. So I decided that day that as soon as, we don't want to cry, that as soon as everybody left, that I was going to take all the medication because I could reach it now, and I was going to end my life because I was not going to live my life like that. We weren't making progress fast enough. It wasn't good enough for me. And I felt like it was a battle that I did not want to fight. Like I felt like it was too hard for me, even though, you go through so many things. Sometimes it's like, this is something that I don't want to do. This one's just too hard. So the funny thing is that I was never alone. No one ever left. No one ever left my side. So I sat there and I like cursed God, and I was like, I hate you. I hate you. Look what you did to me. You took my life. Now I cannot walk, and now you won't leave me alone so I can finish the job that you couldn't do. And I was never alone. And ever since then, I rehabbed, and they would come to my home, and guess what? I didn't leave that hospital walking just like I said I would. I didn't leave that hospital walking. They gave me a brand new spanking lime green wheelchair, custom fit to my body, and I was like, oh
so
man.
you went through all the whole process, the measurements and everything.
Measurements and everything, and
So
that's when
how long were you in rehab, and how long did you take?
6 months.
6 months.
6 months, and that was real to me when they started taking my measurements and customizing me for a chair.
Mm-hmm.
I said, man, I'm going to be in a chair. I'm going home in a wheelchair. This is happening, showing me how to transfer. And I remember being happy to be able to leave the hospital and go home. But then I was like, then what? Then what? Here I was, on a schedule and rehabbing every single day around the clock. And now I'm going to go home, and then what? So I remember getting my custom fancy chair, leaving the hospital, them showing my parents how to transfer me. Their grown adult child, them having to pick me up and transfer me, and then you get home and they have to pick you up and transfer you into the tub. And oh man, it was so rough. Like, I think that I have like no shame left. Like,
yeah, no, I know what you mean. Wow. So you get home, and now how does that process look? Because I'm sure your home wasn't wheelchair accessible. Like,
it wasn't. We had to get a place before then. So you know how you're at rehab and then you have day visits. So during those day visits is when we were looking. So I was on my own. I had to move back with my parents, so they were able to help me. And then we were looking for a place that was, accessible through garage, through whatever. And that's what we did. And then when it was finally time for me to go home, we went into that new home. And I remember them coming, and they put the belt on you, and what's it called? That big heavy belt to help you just stand.
The standing, the tilt table.
It wasn't a table though. It was just a belt. Yeah, it was just like
on the tilt table. So it's like a thing, and then boom, the belt. It's called the tilt table, and then they put the belt over you to keep strapped in on the tilt table. Right.
So it's just that belt. So when they come and they help you, stand for a little bit, and then you get dizzy, and then just little by little, I just made these little tiny steps. And I remember every time I took a step, it felt like bricks, cinder blocks taped to my feet. Every time I took a step, sweat pouring down my face every time I took just one step. Yeah. But I knew that each and every single step was going to get me more steps. And maybe I could take 2 today, then I'd take 3 tomorrow, then the next day I would take 4, and then it would just keep going and going and going.
So pause for a second. So you were able to take one step. You was able to stand up when you went. So where's that process happen? Like, when was you able to stand up and take a step from wiping your nose, and then now to coming home and being able to get up and stand up? Like, what?
So
gradual. Like, it was just gradual, little by little.
It seemed like it was gradual, but I mean, hindsight is 20/20, and I felt like it wasn't. I felt like once I shifted that mind to where, okay, you are going back to living with your parents, with your family, your own family that you had in your own home. Right. You are going back to living with your parents because you need the help. Once I had that mindset to, this is not going to be my life. It will not be my life. I think that shift, when that shift connects to everything else, I mean, miracles happen. miracles happen. And it's not, you know, everyone's miracle is different, I think, you know. Mine was this, but I think that a miracle can just take place in your heart. A miracle could just take place in your mind. And I think that, you know, it happens for everyone, but it happens differently, obviously, for everyone. And my first thing was standing up, being able to stand and not fall down with that belt on. Then I was able to, you know, take a step. And at first I remember the nurses having to kind of like lift my leg and
So
put it down.
the garter belt, I think it's named.
There you go. Yeah.
Thing they held on. I think it's the garter belt. Yeah.
Yes. So then those steps turned into me now having a walker. And that was like a big deal for me, because then I'm like walking around with this walker. And then from that walker, we would go to church with my parents. And I remember leaving church in that walker, and you're walking like so super, super slow, right? But you're taking the steps. And I remember being in that walker, and I told my dad leaving church, I said, I think I want to drive home. And he said, I want to drive. My mind just said, you're going to do this. You're going to do this. And I said, okay, all right. And you have to remember that I'm very, very, very intuitive. I'm very, I had that strong intuition, that strong gut feeling, and I just, you know, put it into action. So he said, okay, here's the keys, drive home. And I was so blessed to have, you know, a support system around me that was like, okay, do it, try it. You know, and I think that's so important, because a lot of people don't have that. A lot of people have that word, come on, you're not going to drive home. You can't do that. You're going to wreck the car. You're going to kill us all. Like, you're not able to do that. The doctor said you can't do that. And I said, I want to drive home. I think I could drive home. I got in the car and I drove us all the way home.
Wow. What did everybody look like? Was everybody holding on, scared for their life?
I drove like a perfectly 75-year-old man.
Wow. So how many months prior? So this is 8 months, 10 months in, or 11 a year?
No, probably about 8 months. 8 months in. So it was probably like 2 months after I left the hospital.
2 months. Wow.
Yeah, I said I want to drive home, and I drove home. It was probably like about a 5-minute drive home, and I drove home, and I got home, and it wasn't like this grandiose celebration, because, you know, in my family, we set, you know, high expectations for each other. And I think that that's like important, because, you know, without that support system and without those high expectations, what are you shooting for? What was the other alternative? To just sit? It wasn't good enough for me to just sit, you know? And then I remember getting home, and I told my mom, oh my gosh, Mom, I have a taste for, I don't even remember what it was. And she said, roll yourself into the kitchen and make it. I did it.
You know, this right here, it's like you're speaking to me so much. I mean, just for me, because I've been paralyzed 22 years, and I had a lot of conversations with God, and this process of him pruning me is great. But then at the same time, it's like being in a wheelchair for me is like unacceptable, like at so many levels. And you're talking to me like in so many different ways, where it's like you're helping me like just by listening to what you're saying. Because you understand, because when you're going back to that moment, those moments of the pain and the bed and the depression, like I've been through that, and then I overcame a lot of those areas, but there's certain areas where I still go through, where I'm dealing with pain, and I'm like, this is unacceptable. God would not want people waking up in pain and dealing with this like excruciating just stuff. I don't even know how to explain it. Like just this stuff, and like it's just super encouraging to just have that. You just said so many different things. It's just the mindset, having high expectation, and then you're a fighter, because I've always been a fighter, and then having intuition, and just keep fighting through it until you reach that miracle, that miracle. Um, I don't even know. How can I describe it. But the best way I can describe it is it's blessing me. Like just listening to you describe your process. Um, and I think I'm gonna have some more conversations with God because I want my miracle too. Because you're walking now, and so like when you started to walk, like how did that look like when you finally started to walk? Were you able to run, or did you have any other other after effects from the condition, or do you work perfectly fine? Can you run or breathing? Like what is?
So the whole the whole left side of my body is a lot weaker than the right side, and that's where that bullet call is the most damage. That's where it like just tore out of. So it's a lot weaker on my left side. Um, so I did on my left hand. It wasn't always like closing. It would just stay stuck, like the kind of like those claw, like
Yeah.
a claw hand. So I had to have like a tendon transfer to all my fingers. They took the tendon from my forearm and replaced it in every single one of my fingers. It was like an FPL split transfer or something. I don't remember. It was so long ago. But that was pretty rough. I mean, I can't type with both hands. With the left hand is a lot more. It just doesn't, it's not really doing anything.
Yeah.
But I do still walk with a cane. Can I run? Absolutely not. But am I running in my mind? Hell yeah. I do get tired a lot. You get very, very fatigued, especially the older you get. I think when I hit, 40, a lot of stuff kind of, goes downhill. And I think it's important to constantly keep, working on your body and working on your mindset because, our minds is like, it's so powerful. It's so powerful. And even though I do have, a lot of weaknesses physically, I feel like as long as I put my mind to doing that, like I can strengthen, the physical.
Yeah.
As long as my mind is healthy, my physical can be healthy. And there's a quote that I like live by. And it's good. It says, if you can sit with the hot loneliness today for 1.6 seconds, when yesterday you can only sit for one, that is the journey of the warrior. And I'm like, yes, I'm sitting for 2 next week.
Say that again. If you can sit with what?
If you can sit with the hot loneliness today for 1.6 seconds, when yesterday you can only sit for one, that is the journey of the warrior.
I don't get it.
It's when, like, say for instance, if you only can take 2 steps today, when yesterday you can only take one, that's the journey of a warrior.
Okay, got it. But what does the hot have to do with it? I'm just saying a hot second.
That hot loneliness is you just sitting. Like, when do we ever just sit with ourselves? Like, people are constantly running from themselves.
And
they're just running from themselves.
And find yourself and be able to move forward. I got it.
Do you ever try to sit and meditate? Like, how hard is it for us to sit and just meditate with that hot? Because your loneliness is hot. You feel warm inside. That's why it resonates with me so much, because I know that when I died in that car, the feeling that I felt was that warmth, that hotness. And if you can sit with that and sort of die to self, it's amazing. It's so amazing. I'm like, can I die today again, please?
Yeah. No, that's a very interesting topic, dying to self. And you're married just as I am married, and dying to self is one of probably the biggest things in relationships and in life, and saying, let me die to myself. And what is the bigger picture here? How can we resolve this? And how can we do this together as one? And it's not always about me. And then teaching children. I mean, I'm a parent as well. Teaching children, it's like, it's not always about you, it isn't. It's about sometimes make it give. What can you give to somebody versus what can you get? And teaching children that can be interesting.
Yeah, because adults don't get it. So how do we expect children to get it? You know, like being a servant, being, you know, learning that servanthood. And I don't think like truly people get that. Especially like in today's society, people are just give me, give me, give me.
Yeah.
And then they wonder why they're at where they're at, the condition of their heart or the condition of their finances or the condition of their relationships. It's like,
Preach.
because you're constantly looking to take.
Yeah.
Learn how to serve, but you serve wholeheartedly and you serve from a place of love. And oh my gosh, the universe rewards you back. Like they're like, man, she's giving all that, so let's give back to her, because you obviously can't pour from an empty cup. So you have to get filled from somewhere. Whether you get up in the morning and you do your personal development, which is something that is so, I will not go through my day without pouring into myself, because I know that there are so many people counting on me. I know that my children, my husband, my family, my team, there's so many people that my story can touch. There's so many people that need something from me each day. And I need to make sure that I'm filling myself up, because I have to be ready to tip that cup over and to pour into other people. And it's impossible to do that when you're empty. It's impossible. And I think like a lot of people don't really grasp that, but then they're like wondering why they're in the condition that they're in.
Yeah. And imagine somebody who has a condition or a disability that, how can I put this? That haven't, like, what would you say? What would you say to that person that haven't reached that fighter or conditioned their mind or have that belief system, and it's just kind of going down on a snowball? Because for me, I was at that at one point too, where it was like I was kind of playing the middle, and then I would just get medical issues every single year, and I literally was like, I had to choose life. I had to choose life. And if I didn't, I would have died, because I literally was getting pressure sores. I was having surgeries. Every single year I had infections. I was in the hospital for a year. And then my wife, not too long ago, maybe about a month ago, she said, how do you do it? I said, I wake up every morning. I have two choices. Either I'm going to choose life or I'm going to choose death. I said, I'm going to choose life. And ever since I've been choosing life, I've been healthy for about 6 years. Haven't been in the hospital. Haven't had any medical issues, because I choose life. And it's just that simple decision. Like you said, I had to make a decision. I'm not leaving here. I'm walking. You made that decision. And it's all these little small decisions get you to where you want to go, get you to where God wants you to go. So what would you say to that person that just kind of just in that like loophole, or just kind of in that wind? Even not even someone with disabilities. People, sometimes someone has a disability that's in their mind. It's not even disability. It's just someone who just could be up walking, and they just don't get it. Like, what would you say to them? Like, what would you? Or
We did an exercise a while back where we held up this picture of us as a child, and it was probably like your 8-year-old self or your 6-year-old self, and it's like, you tell yourself right now the doubts and the way that you speak to yourself. I want you to speak to that you as a child. Look at that picture, and the way you talk to yourself today about how you're not good enough, how you're not going to be able to do it, how you just want to kill yourself. Tell that child that. Look at your picture and tell your 6-year-old child that, hey, you know what? You're not good enough. You know, you would never be able to do that. Never. So why do we talk to ourselves like that every single day? It's not the world telling us we can't do it. It starts here. We wake up every single day, and that first thought is what's going to trickle down to the rest of your day. And it's not easy. Oh my gosh, it's so hard. But if you wake up every single day and make that first change, your first thought every single day, and it's going to be probably negative a lot of times, because we wake up and we're in pain. Yeah. We wake up and those bills are on our mind from the night before. But if you wake up and you say, man, I'm grateful for that breath I just took. Yeah. And you find more and more things that you're being grateful for. Like, oh man, I'm grateful that the sun's shining through the window. Man, I'm grateful for those clouds. You start to just go and go and go. If you have to go to work, you get in your car and say, man, I'm grateful for a job that I can go to. I'm grateful for gas in my car. Man, I'm grateful I'm driving a car. Look at that lady at the bus. I'm grateful that I'm able to drive. I'm grateful I'm able to move my body. Look at that guy in the wheelchair. Like, man, you just start to just go and go and go. And there is no way for you to be negative in a grateful mindset. There's no way. The two don't mesh together. It's like oil and water. They do not go together. So if you wake up every single day with 3 things to be grateful for, and just go down the rabbit hole. Go down there and get lost in a place of gratefulness. There's no way to change it. There's no way.
I love
Be
it.
grateful that you wake up, even if you're in a wheelchair, you're breathing. You're not in that hospital. You're not on that ventilator anymore. You're able to take that breath because there's somebody that just got into an accident. There's somebody that just got a ventilator tube and they don't know what they're going to do. Their family is praying that they don't die, and you're here alive. Yeah. Ungrateful for the fact that that breath you just took. Somebody's wishing for that. Somebody's hoping for that. And we have it. So if we just go down that rabbit hole of gratefulness, like there's nothing. There's nothing. And also go to bed with a grateful attitude. Even if you're mad at your spouse, even if you're mad because somebody called you handicapped or crippled, it's just a stupid name anyway. And whoever is calling us that is ignorant, first of all. It's like, okay, that's what you want to do, pick on somebody that's disabled. Okay. And I first of all, let's not even go about the word disabled. Like we already talked about. But I practice gratitude. I practice gratitude. I write down, my goals and my intentions each day. I pick one goal for 5 days and I write that down 55 times. And it comes from a place of discipline, and it gets my mindset in a place where I'm goal-oriented. I want to come from a place of servanthood. And I wake up and I say, man, God or universe, whatever you believe in, please point me to the direction to the people that need me today, that truly need me. And it's not your children, because your children need you every day, but they truly need to hear my story. They truly need me to pour into them today. And every single day I find someone that I can love on and pour into. And guess what? That fills my cup. That fills me up. If I can make someone's day and I can make someone, feel a little bit better than they did yesterday, my day's done. My work here is done. Adios, and check it out.
No, I love it. I love it, Summer. Thank you so much. This has been a blessing, more than you can imagine. I learned a lot from your attitude of gratitude, your decisions, your mindset, your tenacity, and just simply being yourself without any apology. And for me, that encourages me as well in so many different ways. So I just want to thank you for being on the show and expressing yourself and just being open. And I'm very confident a lot of people can learn from you and learn from this conversation. This has been great. This has been great. Thank you.
I appreciate you so much. And one last thing I want to add about just going into that mindset and healing the mind before you heal the physical is, I know people are curious that are listening to, so what happened to the guys that shot you? So what happened is they actually fled the country before court. So the doctors had told me I would never walk again. They told me I would never have children again. They told me that my quality of life would be probably like at a zero because I would be in a nursing home. After that, after I started walking, I had moved out of my parents' house. Moved my family out of my parents' house. I actually got pregnant with my daughter, who is now 9 years old. I'm sitting in that prenatal checkup visit at the doctor's office, and I get a phone call from my mom, and she says the detectives are trying to reach you. Answer your phone. So I said, for what? And she said, they found the guys that shot you. They found them. And I said, what do you mean? It's been 7 years. Why now? And she said, 7 is the Lord's number. Woo. Answer your phone. So I just sat there crying, and then I called them up and they say, Summer, we found them. They're going to spend the rest of their life in prison. We found them. And my heart was so broken for these men. My heart was so broken for their families that they had probably started. As I sat there with my baby, growing in my stomach 7 years later when the doctors told me that I would never have kids again. I never realized all that anger that I carried for what had happened, that my heart had healed in those 7 years. Because then I can feel that empathy for their families, for their wives, for their children, that these men were about to spend the rest of their lives in prison for something they did to me that I was already healed from. Not only physically, but my heart was healed.
So you
and it was like, wow, whoa.
So you forgave them without knowing you forgave them.
Yep.
Like subconsciously in your heart, it was like you forgave them because they were in a position like they got them, they going to jail, and you're like, man, I moved on to my life. You're looking at your life, you're like, wow, what about their life? You know, they probably made a mistake. They probably was young, dumb, whoever. God knows.
Right. And I think that played such a huge part in me healing physically, because I was no longer carrying around that black cloud. I was no longer carrying around that burden on my shoulders. And once it was lifted without me knowing, my body just started to heal. Yeah. Because I was healing the inside first. So I think it's so important that we forgive. If we, I had to forgive myself that I put myself in that situation, because you blame yourself. I had to forgive, if it was a doctor's issue, you have to forgive. And I think most importantly, you forgive yourself for thinking, man, I should have killed myself. Man, I'm feeling sorry for myself. Forgive yourself for all those feelings. If there's no one else to forgive, that you weren't in a, like a situation like mine where you were a victim, then forgive yourself. Yeah. Allow yourself to say, man, okay, I forgive myself for those bad feelings. I forgive myself for those bad thoughts. I forgive myself for hating people, for me being in this chair. Then the physical starts to take place. But the physical can't take place if you don't heal this and heal this.
Man, I feel like I'm in a life coach, or you are amazing. You're just going through the steps, like, man, forgiveness, which is so huge. Like, wow, like, oh my goodness, this is phenomenal. That's so huge. So what happened to the guys? Like, so after the 7 years, caught them?
They're in prison. They're in prison.
Oh, they're in prison.
Yeah, they're still in prison. I actually thought about going up there to see them, but everybody's like, no, that's a bad idea. But as long as I wish them so much good, and I wish their families so much good. I think that's the most that I can do right now in this situation. Like, I can't, it'd probably be inappropriate to write, or inappropriate to, and I don't want to open a whole nother can of worms. I don't want to know why they did it. I don't care to know why they did it. It's not important to me. Like, what's important to me is that, I've gained so much healing physically, mentally, emotionally. I've gained 2 more daughters. Like, I have daughters out of this. I didn't know if I was going to have more children, but my daughters came from this. And that is so much, they've given me so much more than they have taken.
Yeah.
So who am I to not give so much more than I take? Who the heck am I?
You preaching, man, give. Oh, man, you're preaching something. Wow. That is, wow. That's huge. That's huge. Wow, man.
So now that we went to the altar, let's end it with an altar call. No.
Oh, man, that's huge. That is so huge. No, but wow, that's huge. I'm still I'm blown away. I didn't even know all this. I didn't even know the.
I'm like an onion. You have to peel back all the layers to get to the core.
Oh, man, that's phenomenal. Wow, forgiveness. So decisions, forgiveness, the mindset, attitude for gratitude, fight that serve the servanthood, the tenacity, the servanthood. Man, it's an honor to be in this conversation with you, because you blessed me. For real, you blessed me. You made my day. And just like, wow, like I know I've been through a lot. However, listening to your story helps me watch somebody go through it, live it, preach it, teach it, and then grasp it and then give it. Like all in this conversation, like you just did it like this, like boom, 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 boom. And I've done that before. And to have somebody do that with me is like, I'm serious, like it's a real blessing to just be able to
Mhm.
receive it. Like
But see how it works is that I serve by talking to you and we're doing this, and now that you're saying, oh my gosh, I got so much from that, that fills my cup up.
yeah.
How it works, it's like it's give and take. It's give and take, and I just love that. I love when that light bulb goes off and you're just like, whoa, he thinks that I just gave to him when he just like gave to me. It's like,
Oh, no. You have no idea. Like I said, so 22 years in a wheelchair, like people think like, okay, boom, man, you're great. You healed. Like I can tell, like, man, you're healed. You're whole. You're just such a good person. You have a great heart. I mean, I do. Praise God. Praise the Lord. However, like going through the process of life, sometimes when you boom, that pain hits, boom, I'm choosing life. I'm thinking, thank you, you're just, it's hard to just be thankful in some moments when that pain, you're fighting that pain, and you're like, I want to live, and I'm choosing to live. However, my action maybe sometimes to get up out of bed is like, I don't know if I can get up out of bed today, which is okay, and which is okay because sometimes it's okay, and just be thankful just to open your eyes. Those two gifts you open up. However, it doesn't take away the feeling that the process that I'm going through every day, and some days are better than others. So obviously, to listen to you and listen to your process and to overcome and to have children and to be married and to uh, walk, however, yeah, you may have some, minor things, but however, you said I'm walking and you are walking. You know what I mean? The decision you made. So that is encouraging for me. Very encouraging. And to have that mindset and to do that things and to believe it and to understand those things. You don't meet people every day that actually go through that and apply those principles. So
and I think that it was important too is a lot of people are so afraid of that pain, whether it be physical or emotional pain. Like we teach our children, don't do that because you're going to get hurt. Don't do that because you're going to get hurt. When they learn so much when they get hurt, you go and knock your head, you're going to learn not to knock your head anymore. Like we keep our children so clean to us, and we do that with ourselves. Like we're so afraid of, we'll take medicine because we're so afraid of feeling that pain. No, before you go and take that medicine, yeah, because obviously it hurts to think the pain because you are feeling. That
yes.
means things are working in there. Your cells are regrowing. You're being renewed from the inside. And if you start to take on that mindset, you have no idea what your body can do. No idea. So I thank the pain. I welcome the pain because
Wow.
it hurts. Yes, but that's
Good.
why they're called growing pains, because it hurts to grow. But we want to grow, but we're so afraid of hurting. It doesn't make any sense. Like,
It's true.
welcome that pain in. Yes, thank you for that pain because that means I could feel today when I couldn't feel when I was sitting in that hospital room, begging to feel what I feel right now. Now I'm mad that I feel it.
Wow, that's deep. That's true. That's very true. Yeah, you're right. Because I was talking to my wife this morning about my son getting him a phone because we was late picking him up and he was getting a phone. We're like, well, you just get him, a regular phone. He's like, if you get me a phone, don't give me a small phone. They'll make fun of me. And I was like, if you got a phone, you're gonna be grateful for whatever phone you receive, because regardless, whether they make fun of you or not, if someone's making fun of you, that says something more about them than you. And if you're scared not to have a phone just because someone's gonna make fun of you, you're basically saying to the world, you don't want to receive something because they may say something about you. So what are we saying? Like, no, you know who you are. So regardless of what phone you have a phone, regardless of what color you have life. Regardless of what situation you have, you are alive. There's always a positive in that particular situation, and you have something. You have it. So why raise up children, like you said, to just, oh, privilege. Oh, you have everything you want, and you don't have to go through anything. And you're not going to deal with pain, and we're going to protect you from everything. And then so when something does happen, you're going to be like, what is it that Kevin Hart says? I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. So no, you're going to be ready. We're going to teach you, and you're going to be ready for life. We're going to teach you. You're going to be ready. And we're not going to just coddle you all the time. We're not coddle and love on you, but sometimes it's going to be love, the love. And sometimes love doesn't look all pretty and soft and all gooey and all that stuff. No. So yeah, no, I agree with you 1,000%. Like, it's the growing pains. And like I said, you just keep dropping these jewels. And I got to digest them. I think I'm good. I got to digest all these jewels because I receive them. Because a lot of the times these jewels come to me, I'm just dropping jewels. And sometimes it's like I'm grateful to receiving the jewels from you. In a sense.
You need your cup filled.
Huh? Yeah, I just cut my cup.
You need your cup filled. Yeah.
Yeah, and then receiving it, and it's one of those things where I think sometimes leaders could, fake the funk in a sense where, oh, I'm good. And it's like, whoa, how are you filling your cup? And are you truly filling your cup? Because sometimes it's hearing that word and hearing the truth is what's planting those seeds in us, So, yeah. Yeah,
I appreciate you so much.
It was great. So yeah, there you have it, folks. That's Summer. If you have any questions, make sure to email me, and the phone number, I will plug it in for you. And thanks for listening. Stay tuned. This is the Ray Grant Show. See you till next time. Thanks for listening. If you like something that you heard, please leave a review. Oh, one more thing.
If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all.
Love y'all.